we saw with Joe Biden's campaign, the fact that Biden really was kind of in his basement. He wasn't out there campaigning, and yet through this use of technology and being able to kind of connect people, they managed to turn out 80 million votes and help Biden to defeat Trump. I think that's a critical piece of technological evolution that's going to be important going forward for both parties, but especially for Democrats.
So, Josh, let's spin this forward. We've got, Georgia Senate race here on the horizon. After that, we're going to have some midterms. Like, when are we going to see sort of the fruits of this marriage, and how are we going to be evaluating them?
I just got about a minute, Josh.
Well, yeah, I think we're already seeing people on the ground. There's lots of volunteers. I was talking to one of the Mobilize founders who said that the engagement, the volunteer engagement around the Georgia Senate races is even higher than it was in the midterm elections in 2018. On the other hand, Republicans have their biggest engagement driver, and that's Donald Trump, and it sounds like he's going to be heading down there in the next week. Both sides, this won't come as news to anybody, but both sides are just trying to turn out every single vote they can because it looks like this is going to be a very close pair of elections. I think if Democrats are able to rekindle the outpouring that Joe Biden received, they're going to be in pretty good shape. We just don't know yet whether Democrats can win or excite people with Trump not on the top of the ticket. But we're going to find out on January 5th.
All right. Well, good stuff as always, Josh. Thank you so much. Who knew? Political M&A reporter, also Bloomberg Business Week national correspondent.
He can do it all.
He can do it all. Josh Green. Anything you want to ever know about politics and the campaign trail, man, you've just got to read Josh's stuff. Of course, author of the book that explains the 2016 election outcome. We're talking about Devil's Bargain, Steve Bannon, Donald Trump, and the Nationalist Uprising. Josh, of course, on the phone from D.C., and Bloomberg Business Week editor Joel Weber on the access line in Brooklyn. For those of you listening in New York, D.C., and San Francisco, watching on YouTube, Bloomberg Business Week, we're going to come right back. If you're listening on Bloomberg 106.1 in Boston, Bay State Business is coming up next. We're going to talk politics. We're going to talk about that Biden economic team.
It's something.
It is something.
A lot of firsts.
Which I love. A lot of women, a lot of diversity.
And they just finished speaking about an hour ago.
So we're going to break it down in just a moment right here on Bloomberg.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. Final hour of trading on this Tuesday, December 1st, first trading day of the new month. Stocks beginning December on a bullish note, a rebound from yesterday's retreat. The dollar extending its slide to a more than two-year low. Treasury yields are jumping. Look at the 10-year with a yield now of 0.93%. Risk-on mood is powering the S&P and Nasdaq to records. Traders continue to bet vaccine news will lead to an economic surge next year. S&P 500 index up 48 points, up 1.3%, again at a record. The Dow is up 265 points, up 0.9%. Nasdaq advancing 168 points to a record 12,367. That is a gain now of 1.4%. Again, the 10-year worth repeating, the yield there 0.93%. Gold up 2.1% higher by $36 the ounce at $18.13. West Texas Intermediate crude slumping 1.6%. 44.60 a barrel. The OECD has cut its 2021 global growth forecast to 4.2% from 5% as the resurgence of the coronavirus dramatically weakens the global recovery. The Paris-based organization also warns the situation could deteriorate if governments withdraw support too soon or fail to deliver effective vaccines. Dr. Laurence Boone is chief economist at OECD.
What I'm concerned about is in some instances there's a lack of connection between the size of the fiscal stimulus and the effect on the economy. And that's where fiscal public spending are not spent wisely, which is why we're insisting on the need to target the appropriate people, the viable firms. Some countries do that very well as all those that are left behind.
BlackBerry surging the most ever after the wireless company signed a multi-year agreement with Amazon Web Services to develop and market its intelligent vehicle data platform called Ivy. BlackBerry shares up now by 25%. They are off session highs. And Tesla is gaining after S&P Dow Jones Indices says it will be added to the S&P 500 index in one shot on December 21st. Tesla up 2.3%. I'm Charlie Pellet. That's a Bloomberg Business Flash.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Kirill Masser on Bloomberg Radio.
For Secretary of Treasury, I am really pleased to be able to nominate Janet Yellen. No one is better prepared to deal with these crises. I wish it weren't as much of a crisis, future Secretary.
And of course, that was President-elect Joe Biden just earlier today nominating Janet Yellen, former Fed chief, to be the next Treasury Secretary. And I really do think this Biden economic team, Tim, is really one of our top stories of the day, and certainly at this hour.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of firsts. Not only does it include Yellen, of course, but Neera Tanden as well. And if she would be confirmed, she would have a lot of firsts to go along with her as well. And it's, I think, exciting to see for a lot of people because President-elect Biden has said he wants his cabinet to look like America. And it seems like he's making good on that promise.
Yeah, really. When he was announcing all the people, very, very diverse. Let's get some thoughts from our Bloomberg News politics editor, Wendy Benjaminson. She is back with us on the phone from Washington. So, Wendy, I mean, it really does look like, in general, and certainly with this economic team, that Joe Biden is thinking about diversity and thinking about what America looks like and what his team needs to look like.
Yes, absolutely, Carol. I mean, he is making a point about them being diverse. He is certainly showing them to be diverse, and there are many, many firsts. As you said, Janet Yellen would be the first female Treasury Secretary. Cecilia Rouse would be the first African American to head the Council of Economic Advisors. Neera Tanden is an Indian American who would lead the Office of Management and Budget, although women have led that office before. So he really is working on that. Now, there are some. Representative Jim Clyburn from South Carolina, who feel that there aren't enough African Americans being selected yet, but there's still a lot of names to go, and we'll see where that leads.
Wendy, I want to hit on Neera Tanden for a second, because it does seem like if there is one person here who is seeming to get a lot of flack from both the right and the left, it's her. And I'm wondering what the chances are of her being thrown in there, because the Biden team needs someone not to be confirmed, someone to be rejected by Republicans.
Well, you know politics, Wendy. You know how this works.
Right. Well, if you ask the Biden team, of course, they are 1,000% behind her, and they, did not want to shirk from nominating someone they believe to be highly qualified, even though she has irritated Republicans to no end. And the second highest ranking senator, John Thune, today said, pretty much it's not going to happen. And the Lindsey Graham, who chairs the Budget Committee, which would have to first confirm the director of the Office of Management and Budget, said it's going to be a real uphill climb for her. But their reasoning is not that she's not qualified. It's not anything else. It's that she has tweeted insulting things at Republican senators. And I think anyone who's been on Earth for the last 4 years.
Yeah, who else is
would know
tweeting?
I was just gonna say,
Who else? Who does that remind you of?
Republican
Tweeting
president
insulting things.
does that a bit, yeah.
yeah. Two
So-
wrongs don't make a right. I'm
Yeah.
just going to say it, kids.
That is right, Carol. We're parents.
Exactly.
So I do wonder though. Is there somebody on this list who you think faces better chances or worse chances of getting past Republicans if Mitch McConnell and Republicans hold on to the Senate?
Right. Well, I do think Janet Yellen will have almost no problem getting confirmed. She was confirmed to be Fed chair by a Republican Senate, and senators really don't like to admit they're ever wrong. So if they confirmed her once, they'll confirm her again.
Great point.
And she's well respected. Her politics may not agree with their politics, but there's no question she's respected. She's top notch. I just don't see that one happening. Neera Tanden may be the one that gets tossed back. She is the only one so far that everybody has said, hold the phone, this may not work. So that's going to be the fight to see if Biden decides it's really, really worth it to have that fight. And he may.
I just want to mention, a couple of headlines that have crossed the Bloomberg terminal. Bill Barr, saying that the Department of Justice hasn't uncovered widespread voting fraud. I just find it fascinating that these kind of headlines are still crossing. And then we've got, the president-elect putting together his team. I mean, it's just, how do you continue to make sense, Wendy, out of these kind of two Washingtons right now?
Exactly. Well, I think it's 90% one Washington and 10% another Washington. I think really there's one person in town who believes that Donald Trump won the election, and that's Donald Trump. His own attorney general, as you said today, said he's seen no evidence of election fraud to an extent that would change the results of the election. Bill Barr did just leave the White House. We're waiting to find out if he left with his job or he left, to carry a cardboard box out of the Justice Department. We don't know yet. We don't know. But Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, came back and said, well, Barr doesn't know what he's talking about. We have tons of evidence, and he won't look at it, and that sort of thing. So, no, everyone, even these senators I was just talking about, are talking about confirming Biden's picks, even though they will not call him the president-elect or acknowledge that he won the election. So that's where we are right now.
Yeah, and Wendy, we are seeing another headline cross the Bloomberg from the Associated Press that says that Barr has appointed Durham's special counsel to keep investigating the Russia probe origins under the new administration. What are the implications of this for President-elect Biden when he becomes President Biden in January?
Well, this is a big decision President-elect Biden will have to make, and his administration, and we should watch very carefully who he chooses as Attorney General as a signal to where that decision will go. Does he want to spend the next 4 years relitigating the Russia probe, the Trump, and everything that Democrats feel the Trump administration did wrong, and investigate your political opponents, which is always sort of anathema in American politics, or it used to be, or does he want to, as he said throughout the campaign, heal the country, unify the country, and move forward, focusing on the economic recovery and getting us all past the pandemic? So I think, there was talk that someone like Preet Bharara, who used to be the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York, might be the Attorney General, not so much anymore, which does signal that maybe he doesn't want to, spend the next 4 years investigating Donald Trump.
It's fascinating. My understanding, just reading the AP write-through, I guess Barr is saying that Durham's investigation narrowing to focus more on the conduct of FBI agents who had worked on that Russia investigation. So it is kind of fascinating to see that could continue, into the next administration. Wendy, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Wendy Benjaminson, she's politics editor at Bloomberg News, joining us on the phone from Washington, D.C. That will be fascinating if it carries over right to a Biden administration.
Yeah, and he'll have serious choices to make about whether he wants to end it or keep it going, because there are implications for both.
Yeah, exactly. And I do get the feeling he wants to move forward, so we shall see. All right, let's get back to world and national news headlines. Following it all for us, Nancy Lyons. Hey, Nance.
Hey, Carol, you've been talking about it. President-elect Joe Biden has formally introduced his nominees and appointees to key economic posts. Biden has tapped, among others, Janet Yellen to be Treasury Secretary, and if confirmed, she would be the first woman to lead the Treasury Department. Biden says his team is comprised of experienced officials, including those who helped during the 2008 financial crisis. He says their expertise will be especially needed now.
From the most unequal economic and job crisis in modern history, we can build a new American economy that works for all Americans, not just some, all.
Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin have been giving their take on the economy in a periodic appearance before the Senate Banking Committee.
Powell said the economy is proving more resilient than expected, but 10 million Americans are still out of work, and widespread vaccinations are still months away.
There are a lot of small businesses that are at risk of going out of business during this winter, which could be a tough few months. The risk of people at the lower end of the income spectrum, these are not people with a lot of savings, a lot of resources, or a lot of opportunities right now. There are parts of the economy that really might need help to get that last span of the bridge in place.
Mnuchin added that small businesses, notably restaurants, need not loans but cash grants. In Washington, Irv Chapman, Bloomberg Radio.
Attorney General Bill Barr is weighing in on the election and says the Justice Department has found no signs of voting fraud on the scale needed to change the outcome. Global news 24 hours a day on air and on Bloomberg Quick Take, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Nancy Lyons.
All right, Nancy, thank you so much. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Carol Massar along with Tim Stenovic of Bloomberg's Quick Take. And Dow Jones has a story. I mean, I feel like there's a story like this every day, every week. A new setback for big cities as return to the office fades. You and I were just talking, though, earlier about, bars are going to come back. Big cities. New York City will come back.
Look, I'm talking my book here, of course, because I live in New York City, and I love New York City. But New York City is going to come back. Carol, I don't think the working from home thing is for everybody. I don't think it's going to stick around. And you saw a lot of suburbs, the demand for houses in the suburbs go up significantly over the summer.
Right.
But what is that? What are they betting on? Right? They're betting on if you think you're going to be working remotely, you're not going to live in the suburbs. You're going to move very far away where you can get an even bigger house, right?
That's right.
So these people are saying, in a sense, okay, well, we were thinking about moving to the suburbs for in a few years. That accelerated, like everything.
Right,
the
like
pandemic
let's just do it now.
Let's do it now. And we're probably going to be commuting to the city at some point.
What I want to watch in particular is what happens in Silicon Valley. Like, because you have seen companies who say, yep, you want to work from home from now on, right? But they've also said that we're going to reduce your salaries if you're going to be working from home, because you could essentially work, in the middle of the country, but be working for Microsoft. And so that to me could be a very significant shift. But I think ultimately the reason, I work in the city because I love the city and I love to come to the city. I have a 17-year-old who, has gone to school in the city. She's going to go somewhere else for college, but she says, I want to come and live and work in the city. So I don't think cities are going to go away.
And I also think people are really starting to miss their colleagues. My wife went and got coffee with one of her colleagues yesterday, and she ended up staying with her for hours because Microsoft Teams and Zoom is not the same.
It isn't the same. I was thinking about that because we're doing so many virtual conferences that way, and it's great because the accessibility, everybody's available, right? Everybody's home. But I do miss, I said to somebody after doing an event, I miss being kind of next to you in front of a crowd, just having a conversation. It's a different feel. It just is.
And for me, working from home is hard.
Yeah. So, all right, go ahead. Keep churning out these stories. There might be some more hybrid working, but I don't believe big cities, the end of it. I don't think the end of office work as we know it.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. All right. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week, and this is Bloomberg Radio.
markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at Bloomberg Quick Take. This is a Bloomberg Business
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pelleton. Up Tuesday, first trading day of the new month. We are seeing a late day fade, but still we've got the S&P and Nasdaq at records. Let's head right over to the first word breaking news desk for today's afternoon call. Here he is, Bill Maloney.
And good afternoon, Charlie. That's right. U.S. stocks in the green, although, like you said, well off their morning highs. Dow's currently up 195 points, was up 444. S&Ps are up 40. Nasdaq is still up 147. The U.S. 10 yield at 0.92% now. Gold trading higher by 38, and transports gained 93 points. Among the main 11 SB sectors, all were in the green, led by gains in telecom, financials, and the industrials. And leaders to the upside in the Dow, Apple, Intel, and Travelers, Salesforce, and 3M led to the downside. After earnings, Zoom Video fell 15%. And in other news, Reuters reported that Elon Musk said he'd discuss it if a rival car maker offered to merge. And wrapping things up, Salesforce reports after the bell. CNBC reported a deal for Slack could come then. Live from the first breaking news desk, I'm Bill Maloney. Charlie.
Okay, we thank you very much, Bill, and to hear live breaking news over at your Bloomberg Time Squawk, SQUAWK on your terminal. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
It is indeed. Thanks so much, Charlie Pellet. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Carol Masser along with Tim Stenovic of Bloomberg Quick Take. And we're going to talk a little small business right now. We like to do this once a week. Bloomberg Business Week Small Business Survival Guide. And there's a story about a Brooklyn-born lifestyle brand that has been expanding in real life. They actually came in just as the pandemic was like getting underway. So it's amazing, right, that they were able to get started.
Yeah, talk about bad luck.
Talk about timing, right? Yeah. But they seem to be doing it. So let's talk about it. Let's bring in Bloomberg News editor Dimitra Kesanidis. She's on the phone in New York City, along with Jill Lindsay, owner of the business and shop that bears her own name. She's on the phone in Brooklyn. So, Dimitra, you always bring us these interesting small businesses. How did this come to your attention?
Hi. Well, again, we have our amazing small business reporter, Nick Leiber. And Jill Lindsay's shop in Brooklyn is not far from where Nick is. And he'd heard about it through a couple of people, possibly even one of our own editors who have noticed the store, noticed the people going in, have been part of that community. Her store is very much about community and building a community. And then we heard that she got this space at Rockefeller Center because Rock Center is starting slowly on this effort to bring more local community-based businesses into the complex there.
All right. So let's talk about it. So Jill, come on in. I mean, tell us about creating this business in the middle of a pandemic.
Well, hi, you guys. It's such a pleasure to be here. It has truly been such a wild ride to open another store after, there was a moment when I wasn't even sure that the Brooklyn store was going to make it after we were closed for 5 months. So it's been truly a gift, and Rockefeller Center has been incredibly supportive, and I am so excited for their reimagination of this space and bringing in local businesses to help. So it's, we're there, and we're so excited to be there, and we don't ever want to leave.
So Jill, take us into what it was like for you in the spring when the pandemic hit, when you had to close the store. How did you recover from that?
Yeah, so we closed in March, and it was about, mid-June, and I'd applied for all the loans, and we only got a little bit from the PPP because, I'm a really small business, and we only had a really small staff. So the number, that we got for the loan was pretty small, and then I applied for the EIDL loan, and I got that, and it was truly one of those moments where I was like, I believe in the community. I believe in the small businesses that we sell and support. And I feel like it's my mission to try to stay open. So I'm going to take this loan and try to go for it.
And forgive me, because you have been in business for 2014, and the Rock space was all about additional space. But it is pretty remarkable that you've been doing it. What have you kind of learned during this process?
100%. I have learned that community can overcome anything, and we're so blessed to have such an amazing community. And, during the pandemic, we had 2 of our customers create a GoFundMe for the store. And I really believe that creating community and supporting local artisans and a local economy is what we need to do. And so that's what, we'll continue to do with hopefully more locations that we're able to open. And I think especially for Rockefeller Center, bringing local New York City makers to a place where we're surrounded by J. Crew and Anthropology is going to be a really big thing.
Yeah, that's very compelling, the local piece of it, Jill, just looking for people who are making things. That really does contribute to the community feel. There was a story that Nick talked to you about a little bit, and I thought you'd share it with us about the incense maker who was selling on a card table on the street in Bed-Stuy. Can you tell us about that?
Of course. It's one of our top-selling brands. It's called Encausa. They do incense and ceramics, and they work with artisans out of Peru. And, when I first found out about them, they were selling literally on the street, and it was